Greetings, friends. Do you have a taste for the unknown? Are your days plagued with thoughts of the strange and morbid? Has your thirst to know about the world's most sadistic killers ever been quenched? If not, then I'm here to help. Join me on the Nightcap Nebula podcast, where I, your humble storyteller, take you on a glorious ride into the mysterious universal abyss. Learn why your neighbor might be harboring a really horrible secret, or if that conspiracy theory you thought was false turned out to be real. Whatever your dark desire, you'll find it here. Follow me on Instagram at the Nightcap Nebula Pod for updates to the show, and listen anywhere you get your podcasts. Until then, be safe and stay curious. Now, back to your program.
This is just a disclaimer and sort of warning about this podcast. The Activity Continues podcast is in no way affiliated with the Dead Files, its production company, or any of its distributors. We are simply fans that love the show and love to talk about it and dissect it and, yes, make fun of it. But we do love it. And all of the opinions expressed herein are ours alone and have nothing to do with the Dead Files or any of its cast, crew, production, or distributors. And we swear. Enjoy. Ghosty fam, Amy here. Welcome to The Activity Continues, a podcast where three soul friends talk about all things paranormal. Ghosts, hauntings, psychics, movies and TV shows, especially The Dead Files, and other spooky and spooky adjacent things as well. We also like to interview people in the paranormal community, as well as past Dead Files clients and other interesting people. Sometimes we even tell your stories. We hope you enjoy the show. Hello. Thanks for joining us. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome home. In our third installment of our spring break series, Ghosts Gone Wild, headed to Discovery Bay, California. And this was Megan's pick, so I'm going to let her tell you why she chose it and a little bit more about it.
So it's really, really scientific. Lots of Excel sheets went into this. No, I'm kidding. I saw the name of it was The Bone Collector, and I really loved that movie starring Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie. You should check it out if you haven't. It is very, very, very good. Mm-hmm. One of my probably top 5 favorite movies. Really? I love anything with Denzel in it, though. But I really just, and I did not see the end coming, so that it did throw me.
I don't remember it well enough to remember the end.
Well, I won't spoil it, but
okay. I mean, it is a how old movie?
That's true.
It's pretty old.
Spoiler alert.
It was his male nurse who was the killer.
Oh, shoot. I was going to watch it this weekend.
Denzel Washington is a quadriplegic. He used to be a police officer, and he was shot in the line of duty. And so he's now like a quadriplegic, and his male nurse is super nice, which is how they get you.
That's how they get you.
And he was killing based off of a book, I believe it was. And so he was setting up all these murders to be, it was, chef's kiss. It should have won.
That's why when in The Equalizer, he
spoiler alert,
kills everybody else. Got it.
He's getting back at everybody.
I didn't see that movie.
There's 3 of them.
Oh, I'm sure they're relatively the same.
I have read the book, though, from The Bone Collector, and it's a whole series with that detective solving crimes in his wheelchair or bed or whatever. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Oh, okay. It was really good. So that's honestly why I chose it.
Awesome.
That there was nothing else into it. AP, what are we warning people about today?
Yeah, I've got few different things. Throw any more in if you hear them. But in history, there's child fetal death in history. and desecration, destruction of human remains, both ancient and recent, as well as suicide.
All right. So, housekeeping. Do we have any housekeeping?
Well, I was going to tell you both. My sister works in a veterinary office. She's like office administrator, kind of front desk person. So she has to talk with people all the time on the phone.
My favorite thing.
She had a male client call in, says, I think my dog has a UTI. And she's like, okay, yep, I looked at records. Dog was in 2023 in June, had a UTI, but hasn't had an exam. And so told the owner, hey, we're going to need to have her in for an exam. And he said, I can tell you that if I was a human female calling my doctor with a UTI, I would not be required to come in for an exam. My sister said, really, sir? Because as a human female telling you, my doctor would tell me to come in for an exam. Now, there are over-the-counter things that women can do if they know and that sort of stuff. But if you want prescription, we ain't just handing those out willy-nilly.
No. That's how you lose your license.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she just kind of, and she's like,
I can't
just said she was
men.
shaking. And she's like, how is it that a male can tell me what my doctor would say?
Yeah.
And then she said, he's kind of a pain in the ass anyways, and he's a stoner guy.
What?
Yeah.
I would never have
What a
guessed that.
shock.
That he was a
Right?
pain in the ass, not that he was a stoner.
Yeah. Usually stoners are pretty chill.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he wasn't at this point in time.
He needs to.
So I learned this week from my new favorite podcast, Let's Go to Court, their bonus episode, why marijuana is called marijuana, and it's horribly racist.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah. So I'm sure AP knows this.
Look at that. You're spilling some facts that AP doesn't know.
Hang on, I gotta go get my diary. Dear diary. Big day.
I'm sorry, I'm not big into drug culture.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. So it's like that.
So you don't know it all.
So
is what you're saying.
Give me time, I'll go and research it.
So in the 1930s, and I'm going to butcher it because it was like 3 days ago, and you all know how my memory is. It's like a
Dory doesn't remember
colander.
everything.
No. But essentially, this man, there was a murder. Man killed his whole family.
Oh,
and
damn.
he was like in his 20s, I think, a young man, 20, 21, somewhere in there. And so he was a family annihilator. And there was the rumor that he was smoking the Mary Jane. And so this other man, Henry, for last name Henry in the 30s, took it upon himself to use this case as proof that marijuana is bad for you. And he was super racist, go figure. And so the reason that he called it marijuana is because it sounded like it was from Mexico. And so it would correlate Mexicans with crime. And that's why he started calling it marijuana. So it would give people a negative image about Mexicans.
Wow. What was
That
it
is
called before?
Way too much thinking.
I don't know. I don't know what it was called before. Probably cannabis, because that's the name of the
Oh.
plant.
Yeah. Okay.
Unlike AP,
Wow.
I know a lot about drug culture. Just kidding. But I learned that this week, and I was like, it was horribly racist.
Mm-hmm.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Because not many things in this country are, but
No, nothing.
Okay.
AP did a little digging on this because we weren't sure this was accurate. It's not, at least not 100%. I am going to link an article in the show notes, but here's a snippet from that. Quote, bottom line, the claim that politicians intentionally popularized the term during Prohibition is false because the word was being used decades before then in the United States. People shouldn't have a problem using marijuana. In fact, erasing the word brings its own problems. That is from the MissouriIndependent.com.
I'm sorry. That just reminded me of the man thing from your sister, like men telling us everything.
Yes.
Good for her. I think she handled that very professionally.
She does pretty well. She doesn't let a lot get to her, but there are a few times where things get
I'm
to
sorry,
her.
but when a man, like it's the TikToks, I saw a TikTok where a man said that women's periods are unnatural and they're caused by stress. And so women just need to be less stressed. And that way they wouldn't have the period.
I hope he says that to a bunch of women in their face.
Right.
I'm sure he does.
When they're PMSing,
Oh, he doesn't, or he'd be dead.
he would lose his head.
He would be dead.
Well, he'd be better off for it.
Everybody
We'd
would.
be better off for it.
So, a little bit about it. Today, we joined Heather and her husband, Jonathan, in Discovery Bay, California. Their house, which was previously owned by her father, has had activity since the day they moved in. Not only is there activity for her, but Heather also believes the house gave her father lung cancer, which led to his death at 67. And her son, Bailey, who's 21, was diagnosed with what they believe is MS. Everyone in the family has had some sort of experience, whether they were grabbed. Jonathan and Bailey were grabbed. Heather wakes up with bruises. Cupboards are opening and shutting, and they're all seeing the same apparition. Heather is worried that her children's lives are in danger, and she reached out to Steve and Amy for help. While digging through the archives, Steve discovers several disturbing things, including a man who had nothing but tragedy in his life, a burial ground disruption that dates back centuries, and theft of human remains. Amy encounters several beings on her walk, including a couple in their 30s and a tall skeletal man who has hate in his heart, who she is truly concerned about. Will Heather, Jonathan, and their family be safe, or will they be driven out of their home and forced to build a life somewhere new?
By the way, you guys, I have so many notes from this episode.
I nobody more than normal.
I just watched it 3 hours ago, so it's all up here.
I'm glad I watched it when I did, because I started digging in to see if I could find the family.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. And I found some information on YouTube for a woman or somebody claiming to be the daughter, but she had enough comments that were similar that makes me think that it was the daughter that wasn't featured in the show.
Oh, Mackenzie?
Michaela.
No, Michaela.
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 Yep.
It's all up here. That's why I write everything down, because if someone goes, "What's the person's name?" we got to know.
Yep.
So,
Did you not just listen to my on point retelling of the marijuana story?
Yeah,
Proof.
about that.
Steel trap.
anyway,
Like a bear trap or
Yes. It's like a fishing net.
with a giant hole in the middle.
Yes. So all the fish get out. Which is good, because fishing nets kill a lot of animals that they aren't meant
Could
for,
be
like
a mess.
turtles and dolphins and whales and sharks,
They are way better than they used to be, and there's a lot of regulations that go into it.
I'm
but
sure there are,
people,
which is
just
good.
like poachers. There are people, well, they would be poachers, just fishermen poachers of
Mhm.
who go and do it the craptastic way of catching everything.
I missed the show. I don't remember what it was called. Shut Up. It was on Discovery Channel, and it was
Deadly as
about
sketch.
no. It was about these people who would go into the Antarctic Ocean and try to destroy the Japanese fish or fishing boats that were trying to catch whales illegally.
Mm.
Mm.
It was really good. Don't remember what it's called. But I didn't just
I
watch
don't
it
know.
this afternoon either. So
Okay, that's good. I'd be worried about you if you had.
I just want to point out that I loved Heather's red lips. I love a red lip. I
She had
think
a cute look.
she was
She had a cute look.
adorable.
Yeah, she was cute.
She was very cute.
Okay, so do we want to just kind of go through, or do we want to?
Let's go through and then we can chat as we need to.
Okay.
Or as we have thoughts. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
So I'll be silent because, no thoughts. That was a joke on me.
Okay. So let's see. We start out with Steve talking to them. Oh, the first thing is that Amy says that there's one person that is invested in getting rid of the problem and somebody else who does not want it to stop.
And they
Mhm.
never touched on that.
Not
There's
Again.
there's a lot
Not
of stuff that
really.
they don't touch on, and then there's stuff that I think they're trying to make a connection to that
Mhm.
I don't feel that that is what the connection is to. And having talked with enough of our clients now or out of their clients and our guests, that they piece things together to
Mhm.
make it fit for the show. Like the couple in their 30s that she sees dead, I do not think that that is who they're thinking.
I
because
do
it's
not either.
No, he was
It's a fucking
52.
vortex.
Hmm.
It's a
be
fucking
anybody.
vortex that
Yeah.
or there's 4 vortices in the house. So how
It could be literally anybody in the entire history of time.
How can we say it's not one of the cremains that was found a mile
Mhm.
away?
Mm-hmm.
One of the 5,000 cremains.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that one. Yeah. But I know I was like, oh, we're going to get more on that. No, we never did.
I think they needed this one felt like throwing in that cremains piece was because we needed something to fill some time because we can only talk about each part of the case for so long. And that it was a really, it's a travesty what this person did.
100%.
You know,
But I
You're
don't
talking
think
about the pilot who.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
pilot.
okay, we should flush that out so people know
Yeah.
what we're talking about. Yeah, so there was a pilot who, the story starts out that a bunch of human remains, cremated remains, were found in a storage locker.
5,000.
And the locker, 5,000. And it was connected back to a man who was a pilot whose
Alan
job
Kenneth
was-
Vieira.
There you go. Who
I was
was
just about to say that.
You get the next one, okay? So I've got my notes, but I'm not even looking at them because
I've got it
part
up
is way
right here.
further down in this part. But that he used to have a job where he would take people's cremains and spread them, using his airplane that he flew, would spread the cremains over the ocean. But he lost his license and
In
didn't wanna lose-
1985.
And this was in 90.
This was in 1997. June 5th,
7.
1997 was when
When they found
the tenant next door noticed a bunch of dust coming into his
Wasn't done.
his unit,
done.
and that's when they got
Just
in
a
there
unit.
and found 5,000 cremains stacked floor to ceiling with some of the boxes being crushed which is
from the weight.
which is why the cremains were flying out. And then when they went to go and find him at his hangar where he kept his plane that he
I'm
couldn't fly
surprised
anymore
he still had a plane that he couldn't fly. Why would he still have a hangar? That's weird.
because he had to keep the ruse up.
I guess somebody
But
would notice
they
he wasn't
found-
flying, wouldn't they?
Or
They found
maybe he was
another
like
1,000
hoping,
cremain boxes there though. So there
maybe
was
he was
6,000
hoping
remains.
that one day he would get it back and need it. Like his license back and need the hanger.
Maybe. I don't know how he lost his license. I didn't look into him.
I didn't look into him at all, but he was a commercial pilot, worked for the funeral homes, but I would assume that, some of the deliveries were probably coming from the funeral homes that they would have to deliver them
for
out
sure.
to him. So that would make sense that he would keep his hangar and plane. I mean, maybe he bought the plane and it was already paid for kind of thing. Doesn't matter, a lot of people aren't always checking to see you're coming and going or paying attention or knowing what your job is sort of thing. They just know like, are you clear to take off type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know everything about planes.
Okay.
I know nothing, but that's just what I can assume. And, it was the 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm. There were no rules back then.
No, but they got
It was-
7 arrest warrants for him.
They did.
That was what I found
I
was
thought
so
that
crazy.
was
Like,
like 7?
do we need 7?
Are they maybe because they were in different counties or something and they didn't know where they were going
I
to
have-
find him?
I have no idea.
Or
Yeah, they
maybe they
didn't
wanted
explain
to
that
make
very
sure
well.
that they
No.
got him on something.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe they were all for different things.
And then he went on the run and they found his car, and about 200 yards away from his car, he had died by suicide.
Yep.
Most of the families got the cremains back, but there were several hundred that were too missing, or had no identification that they could not get back to the families.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
No, I'd be pretty pissed.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the collecting a paycheck.
Yep.
The no thought for human life.
Right.
Well, I'm sure he was like, well, it's a victimless crime because everyone's dead.
Yeah. I'm sure
You
that's
know?
what he thought. I'm sure that's what he told himself
Yeah.
or anybody who would have asked.
But also, isn't it crazy that there was 6,000 people that wanted their ashes spread over the ocean?
In that one part of California, yeah, it is kind of odd.
I mean, and he was in Stockton, so that they said it was like 60 miles east of San Francisco. So, I mean, it's probably a good radius, but still, that's a lot of people.
There's a lot of people. That
Yeah.
is.
But that's all we hear about that. We don't hear anything more. This is not brought up really in the
Right.
reveal.
No, nothing about him
Mm-mm.
or,
Mm-mm.
but like you said, it's possible that some of those people that Amy saw were
from the,
swept in from that thing.
yeah.
That
Mhm.
situation. Possible.
Yeah.
Maybe they left it in just so that somebody like you would say that,
Could be.
would give them the out for not actually matching things up.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think it was interesting that we had this and ancient,
Mhm.
ancient bones that
Yeah.
were discovered.
Mhm.
And I know, like, I saw a lot of people making comments and on ancient burial sites, this being 3,000 to 4,000 years old. The fact that they continue to build and not let anybody know that that's what was going on.
Yeah.
But we all
Yeah.
have to be on top of people at some point in time in our life, because think of how many people have been here. Not saying it's like, it's kind of like that thought of like, how many people have you passed that might be a serial killer, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or I heard the other one
this-
the other day is, how many houses have you passed that there's a person trapped in the basement? Like,
Oh my God.
Probably not very many, I would
No.
hope.
new fear unlocked.
This takes place in Contra Costa County, which is the same county that the Golden State Killer was in.
Mhm.
Okay.
Just to let you know, I'm just doing a quick bit of research on the side.
I noticed that it was Contra Costa County when I looked at somebody's paperwork. I think it was, I don't know, somebody's death certificate or something. And it
Mhm.
said that. And I was like, I know that there's something about that county. And I knew it had something to do with Paul Holes, but
Yeah.
I didn't put all that together.
So July 4th, 1997, from San Francisco Gates, SF Gate, the identities of another 180 will probably remain a mystery because they weren't properly labeled or the boxes had been decayed.
Mm-hmm.
And he left a note that said, "I'm sorry for the pain I caused."
Hmm.
But I can't find how he lost his license. And maybe it's one of those things where like, it's like a nursing license or, an MD where you have to constantly
have
renew
to.
it.
Yeah.
And he just didn't renew it. I
Well,
don't
and
know
it's not
anything
just,
about pilot's
yeah,
license.
and those
I don't
like
know.
Shocking.
teacher license and nursing license, you have to take classes
Yeah.
in order
Mhm.
to get so
And
many
tests.
credits.
Oh, I'm sure
Yeah.
you do for
do.
pilots
Yep.
too.
I would
You
assume
have
the
to
same
for a
thing. I
SHRM.
mean, that is you're otherwise driving a giant bomb in the air. Like,
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
I mean, for SHRM, you have to take continuing education.
Yeah.
I'm not going to because I don't want to anymore. but-
yeah.
I wanted to mention that I was also thinking about maybe they kept that in there because of the bone collector thing.
Yep.
Yes.
And like he was collecting all these bodies.
Mhm.
However, as we've talked about before, cremains do not have bones in them because
Right.
bones do not.
And maybe they kept it in for
Or
the
wait a
gore.
minute, wait a
not
minute.
the
When
gore
the way around.
factor.
When it gets hot enough, the bones can bust.
Well, they'll break, yeah. But no, it's the other way around. I forgot. It's the other way around. When a body is cremated, the bones are left over. And that is what is ground up and given to the family. So it was bones.
Yeah.
that
Have
he
you
had.
watched True Detective and seen that part in the?
I have not seen. I don't think I'm as far in as you are.
Well, it finished last night, so there's only
Oh.
6 episodes.
I didn't. We're not caught up.
But yeah, so I keep thinking back to one of the cases that got me into thinking about true crime, which was the Katie Poyer case here in
Yeah.
Minnesota in Moose Lake.
Mhm.
All that was found of her was her molars,
Jesus.
and that
Um,
was in a burn pit
Yeah.
on his
Hmm.
property. And I will not say his name. And I hate the fact that if you
Right.
look up her name,
His name's right there.
his
with it,
name
I
and
know.
his picture comes up.
Yeah, I know.
According to the internets, the bones are then pulverized. So the soft tissue of the body vaporized, leaving the skeleton. The bones are then pulverized into a fine powder, which is also returned to the family along with the ashes. So Amy was correct.
I
Right.
just know
That's
that
what I like.
from-
True Crime Garage. They always refer to the murderer as the killer. They will
Yeah.
say their name once. And then
Yeah.
they're like, they're not getting any more airtime,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which is good because that's all these fuckers want.
Oh, some of them, yeah.
Mhm.
Who's that
They
one?
want
Canadian
the notoriety.
one whose name I won't say, but starts with an L.
So when I was in,
Oh,
Cats one.
him.
The Don't Fuck with Cats.
I don't even remember his
Oh,
name,
yeah.
honestly.
I do,
when I was
but-
in
Oh,
still
there it is, yeah.
teaching, one of my last years teaching, we actually had active shooter training from local FBI here.
we did
and
that at the
basically-
club too.
Basically, they said every school does it wrong because the schools are all told to lock your kids in the room, whatever. And they are all like, if you get a chance to get out, get the fuck out.
Run.
Mhm.
And being a science classroom, it was always going to be like, if we're going to get out of here, you're getting out of here, and I will barricade the door and you get out. Like, because science classrooms always have an extra door at the back.
Mhm.
But
Oh.
when,
Didn't know that.
but they would talk about that on like the dark webs and everything. There are lists of those mass shooters, those mass killers,
Mm-hmm.
and people are idolizing them, trying to get higher up. It's like a fucking video game to them.
Yeah.
It's not,
sick.
it's like it's not real life to some of them.
Yep.
And they have all of these lists. And so FBI is tracking that kind of stuff. So every time, like, can we just not give them cool names? Can we give them tiny penis names? Like,
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Like Golden State Killer should have been micro penis name, like micro penis killer, or bad breath killer, or
Richard Ramirez.
yeah, like nasty teeth killer.
Oh,
Yeah.
He's so gross.
He was so fucking gross.
Yeah.
I think of all the serial killers, he's the grossest.
Oh, I don't know. There's a lot of really gross ones.
I don't know. He's pretty fucking
Pretty
gross.
Yep. They all are.
Anyways,
So, yeah,
that's
so-
true. Yeah. I'm not saying they're not,
But yeah, there's a lot of just, I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff in this episode that I think they tried hard to connect because it wasn't clear
Yeah.
all the way through. And even, you know, the area, the burial sites that we spoke about, they were labeled the Marsh Creek people because they don't know who they were.
Mhm.
They were hunter-gatherer people, which you can usually tell based off of their teeth.
Teeth.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
I knew that.
The wear patterns and what they're doing, and plus their utensils that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always interesting when you have like a burial site and then you never see anything of that, or like a home site and then you never see anything of that people ever again throughout history. It's just like they just
Well, yeah.
completely disappear.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the family and what they experience. So we have Heather, who's the mom,
Mhm.
rocking a red lip. She's woken up with bruises in her inner thighs. No, thank you.
I know when she said
Did
that.
not
They
like
just
that.
glossed right over
They
that.
did.
I'm kind of glad they
Mhm.
did, but yeah.
I am too, but like, so she had pictures that she showed Steve of some bruises, and those were some like serious
Yeah.
bruises. Like
Mhm.
sometimes they'll show pictures, and I kind of have to squint to find
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
These were not like that. Like these
No.
were hardcore bruises. She would hear cups rattling in the kitchen. Cupboards would open. So
Mhm.
she'd hear them opening and closing. She'd go and look, and like nothing's out of place. Which
Mhm.
no, thank you.
So
Mhm.
one of my favorite things is as we open up with Steve, he goes, "Beautiful neighborhood, beautiful house.
Yeah.
But I guess looks can be deceiving." Thanks, Steve.
Who wrote that?
Wow.
I
Can
bet
we
he
stop
did.
saying stuff like that? Like that
Like-
shit happens in every neighborhood,
Yeah.
whether it's paranormal or real.
Also at the very end, I don't know if you guys caught this, but one of our takeaways that we were seeing a lot early in season 15,
Mm-hmm.
your marriage was on the rocks, but
Yeah.
looks like you might be able to save it.
Steven.
It was something like that. What I think I wrote it down, but it was just kind of like he just had something about like, oh, your marriage was on the rocks, or
Yeah.
you thought
Mhm.
your marriage was over. It was
Yeah.
like, really?
Or if
Yeah,
we
you
can't
thought your
help,
marriage
the
was on
marriage
the
is
rocks.
over.
Yep,
So the only explanation is paranormal.
That's right.
obviously.
I will say one thing, and maybe AP did research on this or just knows, but when they said Bailey was diagnosed with MS and they said it was
Mhm.
they thought it was, and his treatment was chemotherapy, is that a normal treatment for MS?
There's different treatments, and I can't speak to a lot of them, but I know variations because it is the way that it moves in the body. I don't know if it's necessarily chemo, if it's radiation.
Okay, they kept saying chemo,
She
and
said
I was
chemo.
like,
I
She
thought
did
that
say
too. I was
chemo.
like, it's not cancer.
Yep.
but
So
I mean, get your medical advice here, folks. But
Right.
yeah, I
Right.
mean, but a lot of people do often confuse the two
Mhm,
because they're almost used interchangeably when
Right.
people talk about things.
mhm.
But I imagine a mother whose child was going through it would know the difference. I can see how Steve might say it wrong.
Yeah,
He doesn't get it
Yeah.
the right info, but
Okay, me again. We did also want to get to the bottom of this, the idea that chemo is a treatment for MS or multiple sclerosis. First of all, and this is from the Johns Hopkins Medicine website, multiple sclerosis, MS, is a chronic disease of the central nervous system.
MS is unpredictable. Some people may only be mildly affected. Others may lose the ability to see clearly, write, speak, or walk. Early symptoms can include vision problems, trouble walking, and tingling feelings. Then, as it pertains to chemo, I found this on healthline.com. Quote, the chemotherapy drug mitoxantrone can potentially treat MS by suppressing the activity of white blood cells that attack myelin and reducing damage to your central nervous system. An emergency therapy for MS is chemotherapy combined with an autologous bone marrow transplant. That's from June 20th, 2023, so pretty current. So that's that. Just wanted to clear that up.
I'm surprised when Jonathan was talking about getting grabbed on the leg. I'm surprised Steve didn't say, it was the dogs? Because he's like, you were alone in the room?
Which they do have dogs and cats.
And he didn't say anything about that.
Nope. Because I did do some research. So Bailey is living in a different state and is engaged as of flipping through their Facebook page.
Oh, good for
a couple of
him.
years ago. He might be married now. There's at least one older brother and one older sister that are not talked about.
They only ask who lives in the house. I mean, they don't say who's in the family.
No, but
That's
sometimes
true.
they'll say like my older son or my older daughter, but those weren't brought up. And then as I was flipping through those YouTube comments, Michaela, she said stepmom in one of them.
Really?
And so I'm curious if potentially that it's a blended family.
Might be.
So I don't know for sure. That was just, there just happened to be a comment. She uses mom and stepmom and both talking about, I think both are talking about Heather.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sounded like it to me when I read.
I sent Amy all the screenshots because I knew she was watching it before you, Megan.
Accurate. Yeah.
I didn't want to give anything away, so I was like, I want to send these to you just in case.
No, you're right. Like, you know me well. I was literally watching it at 4 this afternoon, and we started recording at 7. Everybody, so yeah. I know it drives Amy's mad, but like, I just you guys procrastinate. I'm a procrastinator.
I know, and sometimes that's fine. I used to be too. But I have gotten bit in the ass so many times by putting something off. And then at the time that I've set aside to do that thing, I can't do it for whatever reason. And then I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't do that anymore. I'll get it done early and then I don't have to worry about it. I don't want to worry about it.
That should be my mentality. But here we are.
If you try it, maybe it'll work for you. Maybe it won't.
Maybe I'll try it.
But
I've done it a couple of times.
Yeah. Yeah, you have.
And I'm always done by the time the show starts.
That's true.
So maybe.
Hey, that's always a good thing.
Hey, everyone. We want to welcome our new sponsor, Gobble. As you know, life can get pretty hectic. Between work, errands, and family time, who always has the energy to plan, shop for, and cook delicious meals every night? That's where Gobble comes in. It's a meal kit service that takes the stress and guesswork out of dinner. I
used to dread the what's for dinner question every night. Gobble has been a game changer. They deliver fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and easy-to-follow recipe cards right to your door.
Exactly. No more last-minute grocery runs or scrambling for inspiration. Plus, the recipes are incredibly diverse. From healthy options to comfort food classics, there's something for everyone.
And let's not forget that cooking together can be a fun family activity. Gobble's recipes are simple enough to involve everyone in the kitchen, even the little ones.
So if you're looking for a way to make delicious, stress-free meal that the whole family will love, head over to the link in the show notes or on our website to get your first 6 meals for $36.
Gobble.
Make dinner amazing.
We want to give a shout out to our newest affiliate partner, Just Brands. This is the company that makes the CBD and THC gummies that I have been talking about. I have purchased both the Delta 8 and the Delta 10 versions, and they're really nice. They're actually really tasty too, but I wouldn't recommend just eating a ton of them at once. I did buy them to help me sleep, and well, let's just say that one night I took one, and when I went to bed, I felt myself melting into my bed. It was lovely. For a limited time, you can get 20% off these treats when you go to justcbdstore.com or just follow the link in the show notes and then use our promo code ACTIVITY24. This offer is good until March 27th, so get your gummies now.
But yeah,
Well, and going back to Bailey, they talked about... Oh. Yes, you do. But I was going to say, going back to Bailey, they talk about that they never fought or, and he's got depression too. I'm like, okay, well, he's been diagnosed with MS, which is a life-altering diagnosis.
At 21. Like,
give him potentially MS. It could be other things. It could be some other, autoimmune disease or something like that. But
I don't understand how they don't know. Isn't that a blood test? Again, get your medical advice here.
I don't know.
I think there's a way to diagnose MS.
But I think when it's in people who are younger, there are potentially other signs that come through. That is it clear or not? And so they were obviously in the process of trying to figure out what exactly it was, or maybe also that hope that it's not MS and that it is something that's more easily treatable.
Yeah.
Didn't see anything else on that when I was kind of looking through. It did look like he was still had some immune compromise because of some of the posts were like, wear your damn masks, that sort of thing. But, with that, I'm like, can he maybe have some emotions and, you're his mom and loves you. But, sometimes we all have that with people that we love is like, stop asking me everything and just give me space. I don't know.
And there's going to be anger in the house too, like anger that why me at 21 years old? Yeah. Why my son at 21 years old? So
I totally get some of that, but I also appreciated that I think Jonathan and then later on I think Heather said like, I'm not like this away from the house.
Yeah, I did.
I get really,
and he didn't strike me as an angry guy. But one thing I did not like that Steve said is exactly that. And he's like, you don't strike me as an angry guy. Like, what abuser? And I'm not saying he is. He didn't seem like it. But like, what abuser is going to be like that? And what angry person is going to be like that to people they know on TV?
When the cameras are rolling,
they're going to be charming. So like, Steve, don't say shit like that like I just did. But like,
don't be like me, Steve.
Don't be like me, Steve. So I didn't like that. Like I get where he was coming from, but at the same time, it's like, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors in any house.
Yeah. I will say there was two things that caught me that Bailey said, that his mom calls him a gentle giant. And then I think she called him a big boy later on in the show. And I was like,
don't really like that.
Like, I get it. That's like names they use for kids, but like he was tall. Like
he was tall.
I noticed he towered over Steve.
Yeah, I noticed that too. And Steve even said, you're a big guy.
Yeah. And that's when he said, my mom calls me a gentle giant.
Steve must have hated it.
So I just caught on
He's
to
all
some of those.
standing real tall and puffed up.
He's like, someone give me a milk crate to stand.
There wasn't enough boxes around for him. But
you can't do any more, Steve.
He did seem like a very sweet kid. And
yeah, he did.
That sort of stuff.
Everybody in the family did, actually. I thought.
I did like them until the very end. I really did like them. I thought they were very nice and they do seem legit. And the sometimes some of the things that are happening in the show, I'm like, you called people because of this?
Yep.
But like they had some serious stuff happening.
Yep. Well, I think that it was mostly that
the tall man
shadow thing.
Yeah, the skeleton. The skeleton.
The other
dude.
stuff was PK.
Yeah.
Was like stuff crashing, things falling down.
Yeah, it was her.
Yada yada yada.
Not the grabbing though.
Find out that's all her. No, the grabbing
that's the skeleton
was
dude.
The skeleton
dude.
dude.
Yeah.
So everything could be attributed to either the skeleton dude or
the
her,
PK.
or her PK abilities.
Plot twist, Heather has abilities.
Well, at one point, and I wrote this in here because I thought it was kind of funny, and watching Steve's face when she said this, she was just talking about how they don't fight, and Steve goes, well, what do you think it is? Because he always says, well, what do you think it is? And she goes, death. It even told me that. And Steve's face was like, what?
I know. But then they just cut.
Never talked about again.
I'm sure he interrogated her.
She says, I want that son of a bitch gone. And yeah, Jonathan talks about Megan's favorite, a spider crawling down his face, but it wasn't actually a spider. And then he was being choked. Bailey talks about being grabbed in bed. We can only assume that most likely Michaela is having those feelings as well from this skeleton dude.
Yeah, also, if I thought a spider was on my face, I wouldn't gently brush it aside.
I would punch yourself in the face.
I wouldn't be like, scat, spider, shoo.
What if it was that cute little one that waves at its mommy?
I would literally knock myself unconscious trying to get that spider off my face.
Everybody will ask Megan, where'd the black eye come from?
Myself, because I thought a
Punched myself in
spider
the
was on my
face.
face. My friend in Bahrain sent me a video of spiders. Like, I will say I am getting much better. Like, I don't feel like immediate sweats when I see spiders on,
Okay.
and my stomach doesn't drop and I don't stop breathing. But she sent me, I know.
It's a start. It's a start.
It's a start. She sent me this video of this guy who would have like baby spiders in his hand and then how big they grow. And she's deathly afraid of cockroaches. And I said, oh, it's on again, is it? So I'm going to find a bunch of cockroach videos to send her.
Oh, I'm sure that won't be hard to
I
do.
will say some tarantulas are very beautiful.
Mhm.
They are
Yeah.
very pretty,
They are.
but I don't want them on my face.
No,
and I'm not
I
going to
don't
be
want-
like, oh,
There's-
let me gently lift you onto a leaf.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Jonathan is a braver man than me because
Yeah.
he was like, yeah, I just brushed up to knock it off my face. Sir.
I don't think my brain would go to spider right away. It would probably go to like dog hair.
Yeah.
No, mine immediately goes to spider. And I look like a crazy person. Like those wacky inflatable tube men.
Yeah.
That's what I look
yeah.
like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm derailing us.
I have to. We have stink bugs in our
Oh,
that
You
get into
still
our house.
have those?
They were gone for the longest time.
Yes!
When
used
it warms
Irish
up, they
Spring
come right back.
Yep. I used Irish Spring around the windows, which is what I saw Exterminator on TikTok say to do. And I even asked the people that come to our house and they're like, yep,
Mhm.
that's what you do. So I did that and they were gone for a long time. But the other day
Nice.
I'm downstairs in the bar kitchen
Mhm.
making my breakfast.
Mhm.
And I go over to the bar to pick up my phone while I'm waiting for the toast.
Mhm.
No.
And I look next to me and there's a stink bug sitting right there. And I screamed. I threw my phone. I was not expecting
No.
that
Oh, I
bug.
Did you
punch
to
those
smash it,
suckers
though?
up.
Just no, you can't smash
Good.
them. They
I-
smell.
That
They
would
don't
be my
stink that bad.
that would be my initial reaction is to smack them.
They
Mm-mm.
really don't smell that bad because
Really?
because I usually grab like a paper towel and just squeeze them and throw them in the garbage.
Oh, I was gonna just grab it and throw it in the
God, you're
garbage alive.
so brave,
but I didn't want
Amy.
to do that. I didn't want to do that.
They-
I
So
could
they-
usually I just take
not-
them, put them outside. But
I just
Mhm.
remembered something. When I got back from California, I was going to the bathroom, and the way that our bathroom is like the toilet faces the tub with like just a few inches in between. Y'all, a spider came over the edge that was so big. I could see, I'm looking right into the camera. I could see its fangs. Its fangs. And I killed it because it was 1 a.m. and I couldn't wake anybody up. I almost died. You guys, it's fangs.
gross. Gross.
I hate spiders so much. I try not to kill them if I find them in my house because I know they're good for the environment.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. When a tarantula is crawling over my tub and I can see its fangs, you're dead.
It wasn't a tarantula though.
Big sharp pointed teeth.
Anyways,
Do you know what movie that's from?
No, I don't.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh,
'Cause
it's
the
been a
rabbit
long
got
time since I've
Big
seen that
sharp
movie.
pointed teeth.
The rabbits. Yeah.
That's such a good movie. The only scene I really remember is the Black Knight because everybody remembers that scene.
Yeah.
We are the knights who say,
Who say
me.
knee? Knee. Okay. Anyways,
I'm having flashbacks to high school when my youth group was filled with a bunch of guys that loved Python and they would just do those fucking voices all the time. And you know, young American boys trying to do English accents,
terrible.
not
My
my favorite
ex-hus-
thing in the
no.
world. Mm-mm.
My ex-husband used to do it all the time and he was the worst. The worst. He did it to actual British people and they were like, shut the fuck up.
That's mortifying.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Back to the
It
show.
gives me the
I'm almost out of water now.
Yeah.
Just poured.
Well, I think the only other big thing that was uncovered that we haven't talked about or that was in Steve's investigation was John Marsh.
John
which
Marsh.
Obviously, Marsh Creek
Mhm.
was named for him or his
Him.
family.
He had a really tragic life. And
Yeah.
I didn't get from the history that, I mean, he really did anything that bad.
No,
He wasn't
No,
like a bad guy who's
was-
like, hey, you're 10, I'm going to
No.
marry you. Like,
So he was in
right?
70. He was born in 1799 in
Which I loved because it's so easy to calculate
Maryland.
his age.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maryland or
Just outta here.
Massachusetts. I didn't remember which one
I think
wrote
it was
down.
Maryland.
Massachusetts.
Damn
Okay,
it.
I did
wrote it
write
down.
MA. Okay,
I wrote MASS.
and I wrote MA, and then I questioned myself if I misheard.
Is
But,
it MA Maine?
No, ME is
No.
Maine.
Yeah. MD
Oh, you're
is
right.
Maryland. MA
Yes,
is
and MA
Massachusetts.
So I had it right. But he makes it to Fort Snelling, Minnesota.
Minnesota represent. Ooh, ooh.
He becomes what's at the time called an Indian agent.
Gross.
But he was a liaison. He was a communication liaison between. So, like, if you've watched the show Bass Reeves,
Nope.
Lawman. So Bass Reeves was a slave who became a Texas Ranger, but he was brought in originally
That
because
sounds
he could speak. So he was a real person, but the show obviously characterizes a little bit more. But he could speak several different native tongues, and so they brought him in to help in quote what was Indian territory at the time. And so I would assume that John Marsh was in this category of being a communication liaison between whichever tribes of the area, which would have been like Lakota, or most likely Lakota, but or Ojibwe.
Okay.
And so he communicated between the federal government and the tribes for different things, and he falls in love with a native woman named Marguerite, and they have a child named Charles.
Which I'm going to go out on a limb and say that wasn't her given name. I'm guessing she got that from missionaries or something.
Yeah, who knows?
They had a child named Charles.
Yes, son named Charles.
Yeah,
but he gets in trouble with the government for inciting the Black Hawk War, which I don't know what that is.
I think I don't think I think they suspected he incited it.
It said he helped. The way I have it written is he gets accused of helping to incite the Black Hawk War. And this is John, by the way.
Oh, see, I took that as they're just trying to tack something onto him.
It could be.
Or maybe
says
he
was
did.
accused of it.
I would assume that he didn't follow what they always wanted because he lived with these people,
right?
And
so
married
somebody from them.
They
from
were
their tribe.
I think they were common law. I don't know if they were married or not.
Yeah,
but,
it did say common law. They
but
probably
that
weren't
could be
allowed to get married.
Yeah, common law could be
because
a white term versus what may have been a marriage in her native
her tribe
culture.
Right.
So I'm sure they were married in her tribe, but
Right.
we don't recognize that.
Either way, it could be. And then so something happens. I'm guessing that he took the side of people he lived with.
Yes.
So he takes his family and takes her 300 miles away, but we don't know what is like. There's a lot of stuff within 300 miles of here. Like we don't know where they end up.
Because Fort Snelling, isn't that like in St. Paul?
It's St. Paul. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just it's along the Mississippi.
It could have been north, south, east, west. They don't say a direction.
Yeah, it could have been to Canada, the Dakotas, Iowa,
with a friend or something.
Wisconsin. Yep. So brought her out to a friend. She is pregnant. She can't live without him. So she takes her son, which we don't know how old Charles is at this time, and walks back to him the 300 miles.
300 miles.
She dies in his arms. They say that the walk killed her, but there probably was something else that went on with that. Plus, she was pregnant.
And so they say the baby and the child and her died in her in his arms.
I thought at first they meant that Charles died.
Yeah.
Until later on when they say that Charles was out in California. Because I didn't think that they made it really clear. They said the child dies. So.
Right. And I'm wondering if the 300-mile walk sent her into premature labor.
I'm assuming
which is probably what happened.
Because remember that one of the guys sees a preemie baby.
Yeah.
I think that she had that baby probably just when she got there or just on her way, and the baby died. And she couldn't handle it all on her own, I'm sure.
The premature baby was in a different episode.
There was one the last episode about, or maybe 2 ago. But no, there was something about this one too.
But I don't think he saw the premature baby the way he did in that episode.
Amy talked about it.
No, it was Amy.
Yeah, Amy talked about it.
Yeah, there was one of the other ones. There was a guy who saw a ghost.
Yes.
Thing that was a preemie.
That was the one with Frank and Franco and all that.
Yep. But so back to John. He comes out to California.
So he
in
buries his wife, Marguerite,
Yep.
and the baby, and then he moves to California.
Yep, in 1837 with Charles. He practices medicine. He saves
Because he's
$500,
on the run from the government.
which, by the way, $500. Well, at this point, they don't give a shit because they just figured he probably died on the Trail West.
That's a fair point, yeah.
But he saves $500 to buy 13,000 acres, which includes the property. $500 in 1837. How much is it today? I found this, so
I'm going to guess $116,000. I have a feeling she's waiting for you, Amy.
Oh, I don't know.
it's actually only $16,063.39.
I was only 100,000 off. That's
Yep.
it?
You did great.
If this was the price was right, I
Ah.
would have lost. That's it?
Yep.
Wow.
But buys 13,000 acres. He gets married to a woman in 1852 named Abigail Tuck. So he's 53 at this point. She was about 34 or so, 33. They have a daughter, Alice, in 1853, but in 1855, Abby dies from tuberculosis.
Consumption.
He goes.
Everyone's favorite.
He travels to San Francisco via buggy. He gets met by 3 Mexican cowboys
Who worked his farm.
who
that
worked
he
on his
bought.
farm that they accuse him of not paying them.
Mm-hmm.
They obviously do something enough to get his horses to take off and toss the buggy. And then one of them, Philippe Moreno, comes and slits his throat. Charles spends the next decade of his life hunting down his father's murderers to bring them to court.
Mm-hmm.
Not to kill them. He brings them to court,
Mhm, mhm.
which of the time
Is
is
rare.
very different.
Yeah. Usually they give the old cowboy justice. I don't know. I just made that term up, but
Yeah, it's vigilante justice.
thank you. I knew there was a word
Mhm.
before justice.
Yep, it was common because if
Mhm.
And like, what are they going to do? At this point, at this point in time, I feel like unless somebody literally watched you murder them,
Mhm.
how are they going to convict you?
exactly.
It's like the John Mulaney skit where it's like you could rob a bank and say the brothers were here and they had nothing. They couldn't convict you because they had no evidence. But
Yeah.
so he could have gotten
It was
away
a
with
lot
it.
of
But
he
good
said,
for
he said.
Charles.
Yep.
Good for Charles.
Yep. But that's why, like, when we get to the reveal and Amy's talking through, like, we didn't even talk about anything Amy sees, but she gets a lot of PK energy that somebody has the wants to stop it, but somebody else wants to keep it going.
Which we
Like-
again never talk about.
No, because it seems like she's like, is it the same person? Amy actually gets confused in this episode with the energies because she just talks. There's so much energy going on
Mhm.
here. There's a lot of energies.
Well, that's because there's 2 people with abilities creating all these vortices.
At least 2 people with
Yeah.
abilities creating the vortices, and that's why it's like they tried to connect. I think the 30-year-old couple to
John
Or-
and Abby, I
Marguerite.
would
John
assume, or
and
Marguerite.
Abby or Marguerite. Yeah,
I would put it with Marguerite, but then because
Mhm.
they were closer in age when that happened, but then she said she sees a separate woman in her 30s who talked about a premature baby. So that made me think that that was Marguerite and not Marguerite tied to the man. If
I-
that made sense, if you could
Mhm.
follow that.
I think Marguerite was the one that said, "Help me."
Yeah,
Trust
help me,
me.
trust me.
Her head hurt, and she said
Mhm.
something about
But
a
that was-
preemie baby.
that was the woman in the couple.
Yeah,
Because it
What?
was the
Like-
woman in the couple that said Megan was
I
saying
thought that was a
there was a
separate
separate
one.
woman. But no, it was the woman in the couple because she said the reason he's so stiff is he's suffering from
it's
PTSD.
and I'm like, they didn't have PTSD back then. I mean, they did, but they didn't call
They
it
did,
that,
but they
right?
didn't call it that.
Right.
No.
And her head was all messed up, but it was
Mhm.
something about
She thought she'd been in a fire, but then
A fire
she
because
hears
her
no.
face looked burned.
mhm.
But maybe her face was frostbitten.
But
If Marguerite went 300 miles in fucking December and, through Wisconsin.
right. But my connection to that then too, or my question to that is Marguerite was in Minnesota and buried in Minnesota.
Right. Because she came back to Minnesota.
Right. He's in California and all of this is in California.
Right. But remember how Amy says when people die, they can go anywhere. So maybe his heart
right.
was with Marguerite. I'm just trying to
I don't
give
know.
up.
I just felt like there was a lot of stretches too.
I do. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that could be a connection, but it was weak. It was weak.
Yeah, I didn't.
I mean, it's possible that Abigail also had a baby
Could
that
be.
didn't make it, and they
Mhm.
just didn't bring that up. I mean,
It could
I
be.
didn't look into the history, so
Mhm.
I mean, we know from talking to many clients that there's a lot of stuff they don't talk about. And
Mhm.
most recently, that they skew things.
Yes.
Mhm.
So who knows?
Well, and
Mhm.
again, I think it was I feel that this was more a connection of convenience because we
Mhm.
talk about John and Abigail. But Amy talks about all these vortices and this skeleton dude that was
Mhm.
a living person at one point in time, but they all seem with like an Amish hat. They all just
Mhm.
like said some form of Amish hat.
Mhm.
Maybe he just liked the style.
It could be, but he's a really bad dude with a lot of bad energy, and he wants
Lot
to
of
collect
hate.
he wants to collect the bones. They associate it with the
The
ancient burial
yeah.
ground.
And to me, when she said he wants to collect the bones, my line of thinking, and maybe this is totally wrong, is that because he's connected to the burial ground, he wants to get the bones back where they belong.
Mhm.
That's kind of what I interpreted as.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
He's
See,
not trying to collect new bones.
Well, he is though. He does want
is.
Heather's.
Yes.
He
So,
does
but
want Heather's bones as revenge
I
for
got it.
the white people taking his people's bones.
I got it a little bit of this is my property and you took my stuff. So since you took my stuff, I'm going to take your stuff.
Yeah.
Not so
Mhm.
much that it was an ancient burial ground, but this thing was like, this is mine. Not that
Mhm.
just because it was tied to the ancient burial ground piece of it. Because I got really confused because Amy kept talking about the human bones scattered, men on knees hunched over, naked and hairless, pounding on the ground.
Mhm.
Who the fuck are these people?
I don't know.
I got that when she said that, it made me think that they were part of the original tribe.
The Marsh
That-
people.
The Marsh people.
They were over the bones.
And again, I got it to mean that they were doing a burial at that time, and she was seeing like an active burial taking place.
Mm. Not when they were
Yeah.
pulling them up.
No, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Is like she was seeing a ceremony of somebody who had passed away, and this is what their ceremony was.
I guess it throws me off when she's saying they're on their knees, hunched on the ground, naked, hairless, and pounding on the ground.
Maybe that was their
Yeah.
culture. I don't know.
I did assume they were the old timey guys, and I did assume it was some type of
like ritual
or ceremony. Yeah.
ceremony.
I wasn't thinking it was actually a burial, but yeah, it could have been.
See, I thought it was maybe a burial, but maybe you're right. It was just a ceremony or something.
Yeah.
But again, that was kind of reaching.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All we know is that the tall skeleton dude has glowing eyes, has
An Amish hat.
bad energy, bad feelings that Amy gets. He's really
Hate.
bad. He hates people and wants their bones.
And she's really like emphasizing hate. She's like, when I say hate, I mean like visceral hate. So
Mhm.
that's kind of what I thought. He was there to get the bones back of his people because they had been scattered. Or
Well,
just,
I think Amy did say that she assumed that it was some kind of revenge because of the burial
Mhm.
being done.
and I did
burial
notice
spot.
when she said, you're on a burial ground, Heather and John immediately were like, oh my God,
Yeah.
no.
Oh, that was
Yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
because Jonathan looks at Heather and goes,
Mhm.
"You called it."
Mhm.
And then she said, if it's an ancient burial ground, we're out of here. Guess
But
what? They're not.
they're not.
As
Guess
of
what?
2
And
months
that's-
ago, they're not.
And that's where I really turned on them, because all of a sudden you go from like, oh my God, we can't desecrate we've got to leave. We have to honor them, to I'm going to fight this guy.
Yeah.
You don't scare me. You came
Mhm.
after my children. In which case I didn't really, other than him grabbing Jonathan or Bailey, I didn't really get much about him going after the kids.
Mhm.
But again, maybe that was edited.
I had the same question because I was like, okay, but it seems like it's coming after you more than it's coming
Mhm.
after your kids. But yeah, there was
and
a
we're
little
going
bit
to
of that.
fight. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
I want to see him. I'm going to
How
fight
did
him.
you
Oh yeah,
go?
you're going down. Wrong house. Wrong
right, wrong
motherfucking
fucking
house.
house.
I ain't scared of him. He just pissed me off. That's all he did. Touch my kids. Jeez. I knew he wanted me dead. He touched my kids. I may be small, but you touch my kids. It's a whole nother ball game. I said, doesn't she already know this? Like, doesn't she already know all this shit's going on?
Yeah, she does
that's
know
where
her
I
kids are
lost
being
her.
messed with. Yeah,
that's where I lost her,
true.
because this whole time, even before that, Jonathan was like, it's just a house. We can make a home somewhere else.
I have that in here.
Just a building.
It's just a building. And that's where Steve said you can make a home anywhere. And then all of a sudden they're like, we're going to move, but we haven't yet. And then AP just said, well, they're still there as of 2 months ago. This aired in January of 2021, which means that they were there sometime in 2020.
2023. You said in 2020.
Yeah, which means the crew was there sometime in 2020. So in the reveal, they're like, we're going to move soon, within a year. So that was 2.5 years ago now, and you're still there.
And then we don't hear about anything else that Amy suggests in the
probably because
too.
she, maybe because she's like, honestly, you just need to leave. There's nothing I can tell you to do.
Well, and if you're looking at the two things that were the major issues that they had, one of them was them. And she did tell them they had to go to counseling and they had to learn, what was it? Tai Chi
or Qigong.
Or some other kind of exercise.
Yep. To energetic exercises to help control, release, and manage PK abilities.
Yep. So maybe they thought, well, I guess we're the problem. So why don't we just work on that and then we can stay?
Yep. So,
but it didn't work because it's not all you.
Well, and also as AP found, what Michaela, if that's her, said on YouTube. I'll let you say that.
Yeah, so I found on YouTube just the part of the reveal because they won't play the full episodes. But if you look in there, you can find some comments. I'm not going to say the handle that she uses. People can find that themselves. But she says, "This is my house and my parents and my brother. Amy and Steve helped us a lot. Crazy to see my family on YouTube." And then someone asked about her and she said, "Hi, we are currently living here. Things went down a lot, but we still have days where it gets a lot more activity than usual. Not too much aggression anymore. We've gotten tools that allow us to communicate with the spirits here and learn to coexist."
I don't know if I like that.
Not usually a good idea to do that.
Especially if you're not trained.
And then
because what are the tools?
Maybe they're trained.
But what are their tools? Are they communicating with a fucking Ouija board? In which case you're stupid.
Yep. So here's some more comments that she had where somebody was asking where this one was located. She said, "Yes, it's Discovery Bay. This is my family and we're still in the same house." Somebody says, "Oh, is your house haunted?" And she says, "Yes, it is. Not as much activity as it was way back then, but we still get stuff moved, knocks, and my stepmom can see spirits here and there." Smiley face. And then...
Okay, so the knocking and shit, that's her mom.
That's her. That's
PK.
Heather. That's PK. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, again, she says stepmom here, but then in other times she says mom. Another one, she says, and then somebody says that they're a paranormal investigator and they'd love to come and investigate.
Don't do that.
Yep. And then somebody else was like, Amy always tells people to move. She must have friends that are realtors and give people their numbers. And then she says, "Hi, I'm Michaela, the daughter in the video and episode. I can assure you it's not fake. We still live in the same house and we've learned to coexist with the spirits who come and go. But you don't have to believe if you don't want to." And then there's another one where people are like, "Oh, she's like the woman, the blonde woman in this. I can't believe her. She's acting." I will say I got strong feelings of like she was told to or that she was overdoing it at different points. I put in my notes, I'm like, she feels genuine, but over the top at the same time where I
felt that too.
I did
almost
too.
like it was, oh, that was good, but let's do it a little bit, a little more visceral this time, that kind of thing. And the comments that were going to this, Michaela then says, "That's my mom. Ha ha. She's embarrassed of how angry she got on camera. She's seen the show and didn't even like herself on there. Can guarantee it's not acting though. We still live here and still have activity, just not as aggressive and harmful as it used to be." And these are all posted 2 months ago from when I was looking this up on Saturday. I did find they had a post in April of 2021 in the Dead Files group that we're a part of.
Really?
Yep.
Oh,
that just said like, Please don't judge us based on our episode.
I think,
Like I said, I was on board all the way to the end when she started fighting him. And I'm like, Heather.
I
come on now.
can see how she'd react that way.
Mhm.
Where I was not on board anymore was to find out that they're like, oh, we might move in the next year or so. I mean, you're
That's why
acting like this is so desperate, and yet you haven't even started to move.
That's why I had to go and look. And like I understand it's not an easy process, but then we also they don't acknowledge any of the other stuff. Like we found a psychotherapist for our family to talk through, or I started Tai Chi, or any of these things. Maybe they've done that since then. It sounds a little bit like they've found some different tools.
Something. Yeah.
And I'll say tools that are more in the metaphoric region rather than physical.
Not like a hammer and a chisel.
Or like the Ouija board aspect, but more so like the Tai Chi or the, being open to talk about the different things. So it sounds like some of that went through, but yeah, I had a feeling that they weren't going to be moving. That's why I was like, I have to dig into this and find out if we can find anything more.
Well, that was good information to find. I mean, overall, I thought this was a really good episode.
Yep.
I really liked the family. I did. I thought that they were genuine, unlike Brittany. I had to bring her up, you guys.
Back to Brittany.
I had to bring her up. We're almost done.
Is a standard.
If she only knew.
We almost are finished recording and nobody talked about her. I couldn't let it slide.
We gotta bring her up.
Yep.
But yeah, it was a good episode. I do recommend watching it.
Yeah, it was good.
It wasn't as scary as Amy made it out to believe.
No, there was a different one that I was thinking of.
Okay. Because I was like, I gotta watch this during the daytime. Because Amy said it was scary.
Are you thinking, AP, of the one where the sketch was the demon kind of thing with the bag slung over his shoulder like Santa?
Yeah, I think so. Krampus.
Yeah, it looked like that.
Krampus.
We did that one. We already did that one, Megan.
Okay, good. I don't have to watch it again.
No, we already did that one.
Amy and I are going to specifically find some scary ones and not tell you.
Yeah.
You guys are so mean to me.
It's okay. We're trying to
toughening
desensitize you. Yeah. Just like the spider thing.
You guys, I'm 39. It's not going to happen at this point with the fear. My imagination is
Amy
too
went
wild.
with the nice way of, we're trying to desensitize you.
My imagination.
Like, I'm gonna fuck you up.
You guys, it literally up until like 4 years ago, I thought that the Blair Witch was a real movie. So
was it 4 years ago?
You know what, Amy?
4 months ago.
It was last week. Okay.
Oh boy. So AP, you picked the next one that we're doing. Do you want to tell us which one it is and why you chose it?
Well, next week we will be covering Paradise Lost, which is
a terrible documentary.
No, it's really good. I mean,
it's
a terrible
good
story,
but it's a terrible story.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's so fat. One word. If you really wanted to realist people, send us just a sentence that starts off with something and see how we finish it.
See, that's a great idea.
Oh, we should have people just give us a word or something.
Yeah.
And we just all riff on it. We could do that.
I think
the activity continues. Riff tracks. You need to be stoned. Just kidding. No, you don't. Anyways, I'm
drunk
so
is good
sorry, Amy.
So it's
just start
Hawaii.
over again.
Yeah. So we're gonna be seeing season 6, episode 13, Paradise Lost, which is in Hawaii, and I don't know the correct pronunciation of the town, Wapahu. I will work on that.
Maybe. Yeah.
If you're from Hawaii, please tell us.
It's spelled Waipahu.
Mm-hmm. So really chose it because it's the only one that's in Hawaii. And since we're doing the spring break series, we got to do Hawaii.
Right.
Also, I love the number 13. And so this episode pulls into number 13.
Sweet.
What episode number is it? Season and up?
Season 6, episode 13.
Nice.
For the second time.
Did you say it already?
Yeah.
Oh, God damn it. I didn't hear it.
She's too busy worrying about spiders.
And Paradise
Like
Lost.
the one behind her on the wall.
You shut your mouth.
Megan, I didn't want to say anything, but it's fucking big.
I can see behind me, you guys. Like, do you know that? It's not there.
Okay.
Anyways. Yep. So looking forward to watching that one and discussing with you all next week.
Yeah.
Thanks
I'm
everyone
looking
for joining us.
Yeah. thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. I'm looking forward to getting new podcast friends who are nice to me.
Good luck with that.
She's
I know.
taking applications, everyone.
All right. Thanks,
Okay.
everyone. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Activity Continues podcast. We really appreciate you giving us your ears for a bit. Please reach out if you have a spooky story you'd like us to share on the show. We can be reached at theactivitycontinues@gmail.com or through our website or any of our socials. Links are all in the description of the show. Please feel free to drop us a note and say hi. And join us next time when the activity continues. The Activity Continues is produced by me, Amy, at Collected Sounds Media and is part of the independent Collected Sounds podcast network. We are also proud members of the Boo Pod network of super cool podcasts.
Nailed it.